Welcome back. My name is Mel. This is episode 6, season 1 of the Squiddish podcast, and today we're going to be talking all about cuttlefish mating habits. So before we talk about the actual mating habits, I think it's important to understand what a cuttlefish looks like. I am going to link some pictures of cuttlefish in the show notes, but I just feel like a lot of people don't even know what a cuttlefish looks like. So a cuttlefish is also a cephalopod, also an invertebrate, and it actually has the largest brain to body size ratio of any invertebrate, meaning like for its size it has the largest brain of any invertebrate. So hopefully that helps. Which is even larger than the octopus. So the eyes are very similar to the eyes of the octopus. It's definitely more similar to an octopus than a squid or nautilus. Eyes are very similar to the octopus. They see these huge contrasts in the water and they're colorblind. And they're U or W-shaped pupils, just like the octopus. But the largest difference, aside from being smaller, is that the cuttlefish has a fin. So it has this large flouncy fin. So you can think of it sort of like the snail. It has this kind of like skirt pattern looking appendage, which is the molluscan foot, that is below its shell. Well, the cuttlefish has something similar that it uses to propel itself through the water, along with jet propulsion, which pretty much all cephalopods use jet propulsion in order to get around. So unlike the octopus, the cuttlefish isn't really using its limbs as a way to move about in the ocean. The octopus uses jet propulsion and its 8 arms, but the cuttlefish is using jet propulsion and its fin. The cuttlefish usually uses its arms solely for grasping prey or distracting prey or enticing mates, which we will later learn about, obviously, in this podcast about cuttlefish mating. So one of the most interesting parts of some males' mating rituals is deceptive tactics. So cephalopods love to use deception. They're huge liars. They love to dress up and play pretend. Male cuttlefish are no different. So, like most other cephalopods and most other animals, including humans, males hate it when other males compete for females. Oftentimes, male cuttlefish will even go as far as to squirt water inside of the female in order to release all the spermatophores that other males have deposited inside her so that they are the only ones that are giving out spermatophores. So how do male cuttlefish actually deceive other male cuttlefish? Because you would think that another cuttlefish would be wise to these deceptive tactics. Well, I don't know. For some reason they're not. But it's a very interesting thing that the male cuttlefish does, where it'll essentially split its body down the middle. One side, the side facing other males, will be brown, the color of a female cuttlefish, of a calm female cuttlefish, ready to be mated with. And the other side will have this beautiful, titillating, zebra pattern, striped wildness going on, which is designed to attract a female mate. So it'll be legitimately split 50-50 down the middle. And you can see these amazing videos of the cuttlefish online of that direct 50-50 split. One side of the body female, one side of the body male. Now this would only happen, of course, if there were other competing males in the area, so maybe I'm not giving them enough credit because probably most males wouldn't even need to use this deceptive tactic to get at a female. So one of the great benefits of sexual mimicry like that is none of the males that see this don't try to beat up the male that is attempting for the female. One of the downsides is that oftentimes other male cuttlefish will try to mate with the cuttlefish they believe is female. Now, this is really the only time you would ever see a cuttlefish pretending to be a female. There's really no other situation where it is beneficial for a male cuttlefish to impersonate a female. So during mating, once a male secures a female, he will then take his tentacles, his 8 tentacles, and they will wrap tentacles around, he'll wrap his tentacles around her head and then insert sperm into her mouth or a little area below her beak. Later on, she will then take those eggs and she'll take that sperm and then put it onto her eggs, put those eggs into a nice crevice or a hole or under a rock or something where they'll be protected, because she really will not get the opportunity to protect them. Similarly to octopus, the cuttlefish dies very shortly after mating, not even really waiting around to care for her eggs, so an even shorter amount of time is given to caring for the eggs. Interestingly, after a female breeds with a male effectively, she will display a white stripe across her body, saying that she's no longer open for business. She's done. She's ready to die. She's ready to go. Don't come at her anymore. So the female cuttlefish then holds on to those eggs inside her body for 1 to 3 months, and then finally gives birth to the eggs. Afterwards, she will die pretty quickly. Cuttlefish have a very short lifespan, only living about 2 years in the wild. The common cuttlefish will lay between 100 to 1,000 eggs depending on her size, and afterwards she will pass away. So with regards to the conservation of the cuttlefish actually are not endangered. They have a very stable population, at least the common cuttlefish. There are some species that are endangered. But there are things that humans can do that can prevent the endangerment of cuttlefish, one of which is not buying Cuddlebone, which is a bone inside the cuttlefish. It's porous and it helps them to stay afloat and swim through the water. Some people may have never heard of Cuddlebone, and really it's a pretty niche need. I have been offered Cuddlebone like at least a dozen times probably. I own a tortoise, and if you own a reptile, you might know that sometimes they need to have their nails trimmed or their beaks trimmed. Tortoises have, I own a common Horsfield tortoise, and his beak and nails grow pretty long, and the Cuddlebone is supposed to be something that they enjoy rubbing up against and chomping down on. I do not buy Cuddlebone for him. I refuse, and I prefer to simply cut his beak and nails with clippers. Parrot owners, bird owners also use Cuddlebone for their birds' beaks, though I do know of some bird owners that just go to the vet and get their bird's nails and beak trimmed. So it's definitely possible to do without it, for sure. I know it does contain calcium, which is obviously good for animals, but you can also give calcium supplements. If you feel you absolutely must have Cuddlebone for your hermit crab or chinchilla, bird, reptile, they can be scavenged from most beaches in the world, because cuttlefish are pretty much found everywhere globally. So if you're near a beach, you can most likely find cuttlefish bone there at some point. Another concern in recent years has been overfishing. Cuttlefish are fish for food. They could be prepared similarly to squid. So I urge everyone not to eat cuttlefish if you're offered it. Squid have been overfished, and so people have switched over to overfishing cuttlefish, which of course is going to have the same effect, which is going to endanger the population eventually. So that's going to just about do it for this episode on cuttlefish reproduction and conservation. If you enjoyed this episode, please keep listening. The first 5 episodes are on Spotify, and I just recently got my books in the mail that I'm going to do reviews on and kind of go through a couple chapters at a time in hopefully season 2. So stay tuned if you want even more information about cephalopods. Alright, bye!